Good afternoon, everyone. We saw this week with the passage of the state budget a leftover about $7 to $8 billion. $7 to $8 billion that we did not spend, but yet we continue to hear the Republican majorities say that we can't afford to follow the state constitution, that we cannot afford to do what voters overwhelmingly told us to do by giving Medicaid, by fully funding Medicaid as the voters directed. I'm going to hand it over to Ranking Member Peter Meredith to discuss what happened today.
Hi, thank you. Just want to say, I could talk for days about all of the things good and bad in that budget. There was a lot in there. Happy to talk about any of them that you're actually specifically interested in. But the fact of the matter is, I think most of our caucus right now, am just angry, and I'm sad for the people of Missouri. The state GOP legislature essentially just gave them the middle finger today, and they gave their middle finger to the Constitution that they supposedly swore an oath to, and that's a shame. And it's putting us in a situation where we are putting in jeopardy all of the dollars for our entire Medicaid program in this state, and where we're about to face expensive lawsuits where we're going to spend money, as Representative Unsecker said, spend lots of money on high-priced lawyers to fight against the will of voters. And I think that I, for one, am ashamed of the legislature today, and I think all Missourians should be too. Happy to discuss details if you'd like.
That's $7 to $8 billion left unspent. You did a little bit on it for me. Can you briefly walk me through how you get to that number?
Sure. I mean, there are a lot of different funds to point at there. There's, of course, the enhanced FMAP money that has been the matching dollars from the feds that have increased because of COVID with the CARES Act. We've got a lot of money in there. It looks to be maybe $1.2 billion total. And that's if they don't extend it further, which I think we all think is likely going to happen. Most of that has gone unspent still. A little bit of it was finally tapped thanks to the Senate in this budget process, but most of it has gone unspent. We've got the cash operating expense fund. It now has a new name, but that's another couple $100 million. We've got $250 million set aside in the budget reserve fund. It's sort of a rainy day fund, the chairman calls it, for unexpected expenses this year. He's got another $150 million on the bottom line, so just money we're not spending. We've got another $5.5 billion roughly we think is coming from the feds just from the ARP, not counting the next stimulus packages that are coming. Now all of that is also just based on the current CRE. And the current CRE was based on predictions of revenues being down, when in fact revenues are way up this year. And it looks like we're going to have a few $100 million on top of that that wasn't expected. Now all that money is just money that's going to sit in an account where we can't really even grow real interest on because of limitations on what the treasurer can do with it, when it could be spent, take $100 million of it alone, and bring in another $1.5 billion from the feds, another $1.4 billion to support healthcare investment in our state, and that the business community across the state all agrees would be the best investment for our state with a return on investment we could possibly do this year or ever in the last 2 decades. To suggest that we don't have $100 million to bring all that money back to our state, to bring those jobs to our state, to bring health care to 275,000 Missourians, to follow the Constitution, to follow the will of the voters, is beyond dishonest. It's ridiculous.
Without funding Medicaid explicitly, do you expect that the department to just refuse to take applications for coverage for that expanded population? And I guess how would you react if they do start to take those instead? Or?
You know, that's going to be a question for the department. As far as I'm concerned, the department has already submitted its plan amendment. They're already moving forward with this, and the Constitution is explicit on this. The Constitution doesn't actually say anything about appropriation, first of all, in this. It says simply that the department shall, on March 1st, I believe, submit a plan, or by March 1st, submit a plan amendment to include the expansion population. They did that. And then on July 1st, the expansion population shall be eligible and shall receive coverage. But I think what's really important here is it's not only that, where you know, the budget chair is suggesting if we don't fund it, well, they can't do that. But our Medicaid funding doesn't specify which populations it's for. That's the overall funding for Medicaid. And then what the Constitution says is they can't impose restrictions or burdens on the expansion population that they don't impose on other populations that are getting Medicaid. So the only way they can deny eligibility to the expansion population is if they're denying eligibility to everybody. So all we're doing by underfunding expansion, or underfunding Medicaid, is underfunding all of Medicaid, even for those that are currently on it. Contrary to what the budget chairman will tell you, that's simply what the Constitution says. Now, I also want to address, we keep hearing that the Constitution apparently can't have any authority over our appropriations. It already does. That entire section of the Constitution has a variety of limitations on our appropriations, like that we have to spend 25% of our budget on education. Is his suggestion now that we can just ignore that because the Constitution also gives us appropriation authority? No. The Constitution is what limits what we do in the legislature. If we start entering a world where the legislature says, well, we're going to do it anyway because we can, doesn't matter what a court says, doesn't matter what the Constitution says, then we can say goodbye to this constitutional republic we live in.
Any other questions? Thank you all so much.